Hello and welcome to the Let It Ride podcast, coming at you to preview week 12 in the NFL, wrapping up the second third of the NFL season. Just 6 weeks to go after this one. Fantasy football playoffs getting ready to start. Some NFL teams already looking forward to their playoff push. Some teams already looking forward to next season. We're hitting that point in the year where we're really starting to look towards the end. I swear the NFL season just goes by so fast. These 22, 23 weeks really just go by faster than any other 23-week span on the calendar. Before we know it, it's going to be February. It's going to be freezing. We're going to have no more football to watch. But let's not get depressed about that just yet. Still plenty of football to look forward to, and we will dive in to the Week 12 slate. My Week 11 picks did really well. We went 4-2 on our picks. The teaser of the week getting another winner. The one really bad loss that we had was giving out the Chargers -3 against the Jaguars. They get blown out in that game. That's the only game that I had a really bad read on. I feel like the loser that we had with the Rams -3, they ended up winning that game by 2. Really were in control for most of that game, kind of let go of the rope at the end, but really still feel like we had the right side there, but absolutely crushed the totals. We hit that Vikings Bears under with ease. The Steelers Bengals under we hit. We almost got backdoored at the end of that game. The Steelers scoring 2 defensive touchdowns in that one, and the Bengals almost backdooring us with a garbage time touchdown. But the Steelers luckily make the stand at the goal line there, and we cashed the under, and we gave out the over in Giants Packers. That cashes with ease as well. So 4-2 across our picks. We will look to ride that hot streak into week 12, starting with the Vikings taking on the Packers. The Packers a 6.5-point favorite at home. The over under sitting at 41. And this Green Bay Packers team, their build is one of the best teams in the NFL. But if you look at since week 2, so they start the season out with a huge win over the Lions. They beat the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. They're 2-0, and everyone's touting them as the Super Bowl favorite. Since those 2 weeks, they've lost to the Browns, tied to the Cowboys with no CD Lamb in a game that they really should have lost. Got pushed to the brink by Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals in a game that was close for most of that game before the Packers kick a field goal and made it a 2-score game. A game against the Cardinals they really should have lost. Jacoby Brissett failed on a 4th-and-1 in that game and also lost a fumble. They beat a fraudulent Steelers team, lost to the Panthers, lost to the Eagles, and got pushed to the brink by Jameis Winston and the Giants. I do not think this team is good enough to be laying 6.5 points to a very desperate Vikings team. Add to that, their best offensive player is out for this game. Josh Jacobs getting hurt in the last game. So you take away Josh Jacobs from this offense, and they're already missing Tucker Kraft. And I really don't know who the go-to guy on this Green Bay Packers offense is going to be. If you look at this Vikings run defense, they've limited some of the best rushing teams in the league to really mediocre games. The Bears, one of the better running teams in the league, just 3.6 yards per carry. Derrick Henry just had 3.8 yards per carry against this team. They held the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery to 3.3 yards per carry, held the Eagles and Saquon Barkley to 2.0 yards per carry. So this Vikings run defense is really good. This Packers offense doesn't have weapons. Catching 6.5 points in a game with a total set at 41, so a game that's expected to be low scoring, those 6.5 points, extremely valuable here. The Vikings fighting for their playoff lives here, really need this game to have any shot at making the playoffs this year. So give me the Vikings plus 6.5 in Lambeau this week. That is going to move us on to the Jaguars taking on the Cardinals. The Cardinals a 3-point underdog at home. The over-under sitting at 47.5. And the Jaguars have been a bad team on the road this year. They lost to the Bengals, a game that Joe Burrow got hurt and Jake Browning played most of that game. They lose to Jake Browning and the Bengals. They beat the terrible Raiders by just 1 point. They lost to the Texans and Davis Mills. They beat the 49ers by 5, but in that game they got outgained and scored 17 points off of turnovers. Also had a punt return touchdown in that game, so kind of got lucky to win that game. They got outplayed in that game pretty thoroughly by the 49ers, kind of got lucky to win it. The Jaguars are the 5th worst third down defense in the league. On the other side, the Arizona Cardinals are the 5th best third down offense. So I think the Cardinals are going to be able to extend some drives in this game against the Jaguars defense that, like I said, is very reliant on turnovers. I know that there are injury concerns for the Cardinals. Amari DiMercato out for this game. Marvin Harrison Jr. out for this game. But they still have their biggest weapon in Trey McBride. And tight ends have absolutely carved up this Jaguars defense this year. Brock Bowers had 12 catches, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns against them. Even some lesser names. Dalton Schultz, 7 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown. Cody Parkinson, the backup tight end for the Rams, 3 catches, 47 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Barner, 3 catches for 71 yards. Travis Kelce, 7 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. Jake Tongs filling in for George Kittle with the 49ers, 3 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. So I'm expecting a huge Trey McBride game in this one. So once the props comes out, give me all the overs on him for receptions, for yards, and of course to score a touchdown. As for the purposes of the podcast pick, we are taking the Cardinals +3. I think they are a better team than the record indicates. I think the Jaguars are a worse team than the record indicates. Give me the home team catching the field goal here. Again, Cardinals +3, my play for this one. That is going to move us on to the Jets taking on the Ravens. The Ravens, a 13.5-point favorite at home in this one. The over-under sitting at 44.5. And the Ravens with Lamar this year, this offense has been humming. I know that the narrative around Lamar is that he's been struggling this year, but in the games that he has played, the Ravens have scored 40, 41, 30, 28, 27, and 23 points in the games that he has started. So the offense is doing really well. Now, you might look at that 23 points against the Browns and think, oh, that's not really that good of an offensive performance. Believe it or not, that is the most points that the Cleveland Browns have allowed at home this year. So that Cleveland Browns defense, when they are at home, they are really, really good. Both of these teams bottom 10 in the league in points per game allowed, top 5 rushing teams. Rush defense, the Jets ranked 20th in yards per carry allowed. The Ravens ranked 22nd in yards per carry allowed. So I think both teams are going to be able to move the ball on the ground in this one. Tyrod Taylor, a functioning NFL quarterback, which Justin Fields was not. So this Jets offense should get a little bit of a boost. Now, I know that there is some concern about the Jets' rushing attack kind of dying down without Justin Fields, and I think that will happen to an extent. But this is a Ravens team that just gave up 106 yards on the ground to the Browns, 120 yards to the Vikings on just 18 carries. So running backs doing really well against this Ravens defense. And like I said, this Ravens offense has been playing well despite the narrative around them. So I think this total has set a little bit too low. Give me the over 44.5 in this one. That is going to move us on to the Seahawks taking on the Titans. The Titans, a 13.5-point underdog at home. The over-under sitting at 40.5. And all the data in this one is going to go against my pick. You know, I'm usually a stats guy. I'll have some stats behind why I'm taking the team that I'm taking. This one is just strictly empirical. There's not. It's just really just has to be observed. The Seahawks are a West Coast team traveling east to play an early game. They're coming off of a hard-fought divisional game last week, and they're laying 13.5 points on the road. I know the Titans are a bad team. All the numbers are going to say the Seahawks should win this game by margin, but I think this is a letdown spot for the Seahawks. I think the Titans keep this one close. Give me the Titans plus 13.5. I know it stinks. You just got to hold your nose and do it. The Titans have not been covering at a very high rate. They did cover last week, and they seem to be getting back on track, minus Brian Callahan. So Titans plus 13.5, holding my nose and taking it. I know it does not feel very good. That is going to move us on to the Colts taking on the Chiefs. The Chiefs, a 3.5-point favorite at home. The over-under sitting at 50.5. Both of these defenses, top 10 in points per game allowed. Both offenses, top 10 in converting third downs. Just 2 of 10 KC Chiefs games this year have gone over this 50.5-point total, one of which featured a defensive touchdown and 14 points in the last minute 45 of the game. So I think this is going to be a lower scoring game than this total would indicate. We saw this Colts offense kind of get exposed by the Steelers pass rush a couple of weeks ago. They bounced back and get an ugly win against a struggling Falcons team. So not really putting too much stock into that one. I think this Colts offense did get a little bit exposed against the Steelers. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. Also, when you look back at that Falcons game against the Colts, it ends up going well over the total because the game went to overtime. That was a 17-16 game with just 6 minutes left. They had 23 points scored in the final 6 minutes and OT. So I think this defense still playing really well. The offense struggled for most of the last game, even though they got back on track and struggled the whole game against the Steelers. So I'm taking the under 50.5 here. I do think the Chiefs do win this game. It is a absolute must win for them. They're sitting at 5-5. So part of me really wanted to take the Chiefs, laying the field goal and a half, but that hook did scare me a little bit. I think the safer play in this one is the under 50.5. So recapping my top 5 picks, taking the Vikings plus 6.5, the Cardinals plus 3, the over 44.5 in Jets Ravens, taking the Titans plus 13.5, just hold your nose and do it, and taking the under 50.5 in Colts Chiefs. The teaser of the week, going for our 4th straight win, teasing the Steelers up to plus 8.5. I know you have Mason Rudolph starting in that game potentially. Aaron Rodgers is on the mend, but how much worse is Mason Rudolph than Aaron Rodgers? 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers at this point in their careers. I think that Steelers pass rush at least keeps them in that game. Caleb Williams, not the best against pressure, tends to make some mistakes against pressure. So I think getting that up over a touchdown is good. Then we're going to tease the Falcons up to +8 as well. Just a team that has more talent than the Saints do. I know you're worried about Kirk Cousins playing quarterback, but I'm still worried about Tyler Shuck playing quarterback for the Saints. So getting that over a touchdown, I feel like is a good play. So the teaser of the week this week, teasing the Steelers to +8.5 against the Bears, teasing the Falcons to +8 against the Saints. The games that we did not touch on, just wanted to run through the entire slate this week. The Eagles taking on the Cowboys. The Cowboys, a 3-point underdog at home. The over-under sitting at 47.5. I lean towards the under in this one. I know it was against the Raiders, but the trades that the Cowboys made at the deadline really seemed to help this defense. They also get Demarion Overshown back from injury. So this is a defense that I think is going to be better moving forward. And this Eagles defense has been the best in the league the last couple of weeks. So I think this total is sitting a little bit too high. So I have a lean towards the under 47.5 in this one. Patriots taking on the Bengals. The Bengals a 6.5-point dog at home. The over under sitting at 51. You may get Joe Burrow back for this game. So maybe just grab the Bengals +6.5. And if Joe Burrow gets announced that he's going to start, you'll see that come down. Then you can play a nice middle. Maybe get the Patriots maybe at -3 and have yourself a nice little middle set up on Sunday. The Giants taking on the Lions. The Lions a 10.5-point favorite at home. The over under sitting at 50. I lean towards the over. I just expecting some fireworks in this game. A Giants defense that's not very good. A high-powered Lions offense. If Jackson Dart comes back, he's good for running a couple of touchdowns in as well. And if you get Jameis in this one, he's also good for some fireworks. So it's a slight lean to the over in this one. Just sitting back and just watching what should be a fun game in that one. The Browns taking on the Raiders. The Raiders a 4-point favorite in that one. The over-under sitting at 36. I lean towards the Browns +4. I know everyone's worried about Shedeur Sanders starting in that game, but the Browns defense still easily the best unit in this game. So just banking on them, keeping it close. Slight lean to the Browns +4. The Bucks taking on the Rams. The Rams a 6.5-point favorite at home. The over-under sitting at 49.5. Slight lean to the under here. I know these are two high-powered offenses, but we saw this Rams team really buckle down on a Seahawks team that was heavily reliant on the explosive play. The same goes for this Bucks team. They are reliant on the explosive play as well. As we touched on last week when we gave out the Rams against the Seahawks, even though that bet didn't cash, it still held true to that team does not give up explosive plays. I expect this game to be a little bit lower scoring. That 49.5-point total would indicate. Finally, we have the Panthers taking on the 49ers on Monday Night Football. A sneaky huge game for the NFC playoff picture. The winner of that game is going to be sitting in the driver's seat to take a wild card spot in the NFC. Slightly into the Panthers +7. Under the 49ers, the much more better coach team, but they still have all of those injuries, and I think the Panthers could keep that game close. That is going to do it for my leans. Again, just to go back and recap the picks that I'm giving out for this week: Vikings +6.5, Cardinals +3, over 44.5 in Jets Ravens, Titans +13.5 against the Seahawks, and the under 50.5 for Chiefs Colts. And the teaser of the week, we are teasing the Steelers to +8.5 against the Bears, teasing the Falcons to +8 against the Saints. That is going to do it for my picks and the podcast. Thank you to everybody for listening, and I will see you guys next week.